Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for taking time to attend this presentation. My name is Amari Sharp, and I'm from New York City. I'm an electrician with decades of experience trying to build a new career in tech. Luckily, this summer I was able to live the dream of software development thanks to Elemental Impact and the good folks over there at UtilityAPI. As a preface, I'd like to inform you that UtilityAPI is in the business of collecting customer data in batches from various utility companies nationwide, with that customer's permissions, of course. This data is then used by companies who offer solar panel installation or other green initiative solutions to those customers. Anyway, getting to the goods. I would like to speak on the work I accomplished during my internship this summer. After getting established, my first job was to make a few additions to the developer onboarding docs, since I just completed the process and missing or confusing steps were fresh in my mind. My next mission, which I chose to accept, was to change the text on a couple of buttons and corresponding sections in various locations of their website. A simple task with the aim of getting some familiarity traversing UtilityAPI's codebase and tech stack. My third task is where I started getting into the meat and potatoes. The objective was to add a new parameter to one of their API endpoints to filter that customers previously collected service data by gas, water, or electric types. I'm sure you all can figure that the more meter data a company collects, the more important it is to provide that data in a concise manner, increasing both retrieval speed and output readability, adding a level of stickiness to the product. Next is when I actually started adding to UtilityAPI's auto collect initiative. For a little clarity, when a green solutions provider gets new customers to permit the gathering of their utility data, UtilityAPI will not gather said data unless the green solutions provider returns to UtilityAPI to specify which ones to fetch. This is to increase cost transparency and cost flexibility for these green solutions providers. With the auto collect feature, though, the green solutions provider can tag specific accounts to automatically fetch data as soon as permission is granted by the utility customer, making that data instantly available upon that provider's next visit to utilityapi.com or through the backend with data calls from their own engineers and or website. Also, from my understanding, UtilityAPI's old process required a customer to reach out to a representative at UtilityAPI so that the UtilityAPI rep could then manually enable a similar prior feature, which may seem like a small step, but it definitely wasn't a seamless one. Getting back to the presentation though, I first had to create what is known as a controller for the system using the Django REST framework. This was tied to another endpoint that would be used by engineers directly through code. For your reference, the controller controls the behavior of the website and what data will be displayed from the database. You can think of this as the clerk in a bakery, choosing which sweets to display while keeping the customers from carelessly touching and tasting all the pastries. My second assignment towards the auto collect initiative was one of my favorites. I was tasked to create a new page component and feature for customer admins to enable or disable auto collect from the website. In layman's terms, create new buttons. This feature was so heavily requested that it was front page and center in the company newsletter. After that was done, I was granted the responsibility of finding out who exactly was using the old, always auto-collect system. Through this assignment, we learned that only one user out of over 360,000 actually went through the process of having it enabled in the past year, bringing home the point of this endeavor to make this process more convenient, especially since it was the most requested feature but the prior iteration was underutilized. Winding down, I was then charged with the mission to remove the Always Auto-Collect option from the user settings form, which is visible only to UtilityAPI employees. With that done, we fully relinquish that authority to their very capable paying customers. My final venture in UtilityAPI's Auto-Collect initiative was to clean up the codebase of all references to their old Always Auto-Collect system, keeping their codebase lean and clean. Of course, it's better to reduce tech debt whenever possible, as soon as possible. With that said, I would like to show a small demo. The original video was over 8 minutes, but I had to shorten it due to the showing of my personal details or company protocols that I'm not allowed to display. Afterwards, I will open the floor to questions and comments before my closing statement. Now mind you, that V3 interface that we just looked at is only accessible to employees of UtilityAPI. I then disabled my payment method to show that I can no longer make changes. Speaking of that, I had to leave a suggestion, since my internship was basically finished, that if for any reason a customer's payment information is disabled or expired, UtilityAPI will implement a system to make it where that the auto collect status is automatically turned off. Okay, and this is where I logged into an account of a random user that doesn't have a payment option set up. In this case, they do not even have the options to access auto collect, but what they do have are links that would tie them to ask for help from a UtilityAPI representative, or they could check out the business pricing on their own, or they could even find more information about the intricacies of the auto collect system. And like I said before, the V3 endpoint is not really visible to standard users. That is just something that is set up for UtilityAPI employees. But that's about it. Okay. Anyone has any questions or comments? I learned so much during this internship, both regarding software development as well as gaining a better perspective of myself. Best of all, even with all the pressures of working in an unfamiliar tech stack, I had such a great time that my aspirations to permanently become a software engineer is even more solidified. Before I go, I would like to thank everyone at Elemental Impact. I'd like to give a special thanks to my Career Pathways Manager, Antoinette, for lining me up with this astounding opportunity and continuing to keep tabs on my progress. I cannot forget the stream of resources for advancement as well as continuing my career search. Finally, I would like to thank the entirety of UtilityAPI. They have truly built a great company. A special shout out goes to Team UDS, the Utility API HR staff, and my summer mentor, Trevor Horton. It was a great honor and a great pleasure to learn from and work with everyone there. With that said, I thank you all. If you appreciate what we're doing over here, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share. All right, y'all. Till next time, you know how it goes. Keep building.